Hi, this is Carl, and this is another SMB community podcast. I'm joined today by my brother Manuel, who looks like he's, looking out on the ocean there. Where are you? In the middle of Venice or something?
It's actually Greece.
Oh, Greece. Well, the first French fries were made in Greece.
That's part of the reason I said that, to set you up. I love that joke. I don't know why. No, this is
I've enjoyed that joke for 40 years now. So,
and French fries are even longer. This is actually in the north side of Greece, but it's a picture. It's not. I'm not actually there. Although it is what makes me wish to be there. Is when I see this.
This is why you have to go to work in the morning. So
exactly.
So let me give a quick intro, and then you can give a little more detail about yourself. So Manuel is former, I guess, manager, director, operations dude for several managed service providers, including my own. Has been in the IT businesses for the decades, and is now currently a coach and an author, and is putting together some great training programs. So what more can you add to that, my friend?
Not much, other than I'm getting ready to write a new book as well, right? I'm going to add another book to my list, the Agile Service Delivery, The Secret to Making Workflow, this year. I think it says it all, right? Being in this business for almost 40 years, right? And you and I have both been in service delivery. I like to think of it this way. We've been in service delivery.
Oh, yeah, since we were 10.
Right. Coming up on 50 years,
right.
Because
I was talking to somebody over the weekend about that. I started with the paper route, but then I mowed people's lawns for a living. I did all kinds of yard work, and then I worked at a hardware store, and not always retail, but always service of some kind. So
here's the funny thing, why I guess in the longevity of things, we think about it, why I get to claim almost as many years as you. Because you hired your little brother, who you said, well, I can keep him. All I got to do is get him to pull weeds, and I'll pay him 50 cents an hour or whatever. I still remember the one lady's yard he had shit. That lady didn't have any grass. She had the driveway, and then she had nothing but the garden beds. And we were over there. We did a section and another section, and section. Day after day, we did that.
Yep.
But I did that. I don't remember how old I was. I don't remember how old you were. You were either in grade school, right?
I think I was in junior high. So
I was in grade school, but here I am, 7, 8 years old, making money because my brother's outsourcing work.
Outsourced, exactly.
Right.
I've been outsourcing ever since.
Yeah.
So, it's in some ways it's one of the ways that you duplicate yourself, right? Is you hire people. So,
right.
So you have, as the new year begins, lots of stuff planned. You and I have some things together. We're going to do 5 Channel Pro events, which will be very cool. And we're not letting the cat out of the bag, but we have a very, very fun thing we're going to do. And so we've literally been working on it for months. So, so that will be spectacular. So if you've ever thought about going to a Channel Pro event, or if you just think, hey, that was so good, I want to go see it again, we have new, fresh stuff, and just I promise you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, as well as whatever the Channel Pro crew is putting on, all kinds of new stuff. And they're expanded. They're going to Toronto, is it?
Yep, Toronto.
Toronto, which is really cool. Expansion into Canada. That's going to be nice.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of travel. I've got a lot of stuff going on this year, but you have some speaking gigs too. So you have you're going to Help Desk International. Is that what it is?
Help Desk International, HDI, and they're last year they were in Las Vegas. This year they're in Orlando, and I'll mention more about that later because it's a really cool subject that I get to speak on. I'm going to what else is there? As far as travel, we're going to be in the UK in end of June again, and I'm hoping to get a speaking gig at one of the events they got going over there. I know I'm committed to some other thing, and I can't remember what it is. But yeah, so there's. Yeah, and then that's growing. I know I'll be at ChannelCon. I don't know if I'll get to speak at ChannelCon, but I'm hoping to do, again, the same kind of subject at ChannelCon that I'm doing at HDI. It all ties into the Agile Service Delivery.
Very cool. So you mentioned Agile Service Delivery. So you did this master class, and now you're putting together a new fun and exciting thing that you're launching actually as this interview goes live, you're launching this.
Yeah,
So
the email is literally, it may be started before we're done with this presentation to go out. And that's probably the biggest thing I've worked on this year, because we spent the last business quarter on it. I was like, it's time to get this done. Let's do this Agile Service Delivery Masterclass. So we did that, and then we stripped it down and said, let's get rid of all the stuff that's not, because we did it as 6 webinars, and then we added in a couple of previous training courses I had done, which were all done as webinars. We just stripped all the junk and all the nuisance out of the way and said, this is the pure content, and made each one its own little lesson inside of a larger course, and made it so that you can basically, as we say, swipe and go online self-paced learning, and that's been a big thing for us this year.
All right, so let's back up for all the people who didn't take your class. What exactly is Agile Service Delivery?
So probably the easiest descriptor is this. Agile Service Delivery is a new methodology that basically says we're going to manage the work and not the people, and we're going to learn to pull work through the system instead of push it. And like I always say, Autotask, ConnectWise, they got it wrong. They say, assign work to everybody and schedule everything and heap it onto them and push them out and say, go get this done. And then when something goes wrong or there's a high priority thing, they say, stop what you're doing, change your focus, do this, and then get back to what you're doing. They're constantly pushing the work on the team. And Agile allows you to say, look, we're going to have a highly accountable team that can pull work from the system as fast as they can. And it means that we don't schedule things and we don't assign everything. That team that can pull work, that's allowed to do that, can go through more work faster than any other team. And after many years of gauging this and helping other clients do this, I can even show you mathematically, I can prove that this system will outperform anybody that does. I call the old way the stack and run, right? Basically, but Agile Service Delivery allow you to pull this work through the system, and is far superior to stack and run.
Well, my bias is always towards priorities. Everybody in the company, every company I've ever owned, we work from highest to lowest priority. And so we didn't call it Agile Service Delivery, but basically this was the system we used where technicians pick out the work and assign it to themselves and then work it. And that way I don't have people blocked out in 15-minute blocks all day, like a doctor's office that's, everybody's off schedule starting at 9:08 a.m.
Well, so that's where it all started, Carl. Back when I was working with you, and we were trying to figure out. You said, "Here, go figure out this PSA." And first you said it was Level Platforms was the first machine you had me lay hands on. I think Jim had been working on it. You said, "Go see if you can get it to work." Was that Level?
Well, that was an RMM, but yeah. So, but yeah. ConnectWise was our first PSA.
Well, but that's where it started, and that started this thing where I actually had to now be responsible and care for the flow of work through the system. So whether it's RMM generating tickets, because they had their own little ticket thing in there, or then we went to the next thing. Was it the next one, ConnectWise? I think there's another one in between Level Platforms and ConnectWise.
Well, again, so we did Kaseya, but that's an RMM, not a PSA.
Right. But again, they each had their own little ticketing that they would raise tickets. So we were still looking at them, looking at the books and saying, how do we manage that work? So great, the RMM created 75 tickets for us. What do we do with that?
Right.
And all of them had their prescribed methodology for how work should flow. And it was always pushing it on,
Right. It was based on this, I think, 250-year-old concept that if you can master the schedule and the calendar and the minutes, that you can manage people. And
And it's also derives, if you look at how manufacturing works, you go put a bunch of work in front of a work center to keep it busy so that it ever has a reason to stop or anything else. And so humans go work that work center and they trade out, but that machine is always working. And that's where I think that comes from, and it's totally wrong. And so I knew it back then, but I didn't really know why. And so as we went from ConnectWise, and they've got some great content on how to run a PSA and how things should flow, but they got that piece wrong. And then you go to Autotask, and they don't have as good of a knowledge base and learning center as ConnectWise, but even their methodology, because ConnectWise, I call it Connect Dominoes. You lay out the calendar and everybody's scheduled like cordwood. When one thing goes wrong, the dominoes fall, right? And so you reschedule 27 things. And then Autotask, I call it a lot of tasks. They basically go, everything's got to be assigned to somebody because they believe in that rule that if it's assigned to somebody, it won't get lost or forgotten and nobody will do it. And we know that doesn't work.
It's managing the service board that keeps things from being lost, not having a technician have it assigned to them, because technicians can have stuff assigned to them and never get to it. I mean,
because they can't see the other side of the lump of work that they're assigned.
Right.
So I knew back then it wasn't right. And, you know, somewhere along the way, my mindset of what I'd learned about manufacturing and process control in there started to take hold and went, look, stop it. Like, let's not go pull the work off the pile faster. Let's not stack it on anybody, because if I get done and I'm free and clear, I can go do the next thing. And then, like you said, and then the simple, highest priority, lowest priority, all of those things kind of melded together. And that's now been
15 years.
Now fifth turn the clock 15 years ago, right? And I didn't realize that that's where all of this got started, and it's involved. And then you add some really cool things that are happening now in the world, where there are companies and authors who are writing books like the Phoenix Project, and one of my favorite lady by the name of Dominica de Grandes. She's got a book called Making Work Visible, and they're talking about this methodology of making the work visible using agile methodology and these things like Kanban. And at the end of the day, what they're basically saying is the same thing that works for software development. And actually, I got to back up a second. Their big preach is that IT operations and software development need to learn to play together, and that there's room in the space for them to both share some of this agile mindset and methodology. And what I realized was that they're chanting this chant and talking about this, and I'm down here actually showing people how to make their IT operations be as agile as the software side. So when you hear these terms, DevOps, that's you could say the esoteric and the mindset that everybody's trying to permeate of, we could all hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and be agile. And I'm like, that's cool, but this is how you're going to actually implement it, and I can show you how to make it run. All of that's coming together right now, 15 years later.
So I've seen you do this in, I think, direct experience, 2 different companies, but you've also done it in some more companies that I know about. What's the biggest challenge? Like what's the hardest thing to like convince the service manager, like, this is why this is in your best interest? Like, what do people not get right off the bat?
Probably one of the biggest things, which is interestingly enough, not truly just about being agile, having agile service delivery, is these things that we developed way back at KP Enterprises, which was one issue, one ticket, right? They don't have a problem with that. I call them the 10 golden rules of PSA. Well, all work is done against the ticket is rule number 1. One issue, one ticket. We don't group things together. They don't have that much trouble with that. Working in real time and tracking time in real time, that's probably one of the hardest ones they have. But really, when it comes time for it, it's the one where we say, stop scheduling and stop assigning things to people, because they go, well, if they're not scheduled, when will it get done? And if somebody's not assigned to it, who's going to do it? And you're like, right?
Remember, we had a client one time, I won't say the name, but they wanted us to have an employee in their office every day when they first signed the contract. And they had like 50 employees, but they wanted one of our people in their office, because they didn't believe that the work would get done. They didn't believe that low priority work would ever get done, and they didn't believe that the work would get done if we didn't have somebody there every day. And so eventually we stuck Dan in the refrigerator room. So he was in the computer room with a parka on, and he would remote into people's desktops and do the work that way. So they would learn that they don't have to see him sit at their desk to get work done.
Yeah, that was funny. That was actually like almost a test in human behavior, on multiple sides. But that is the funny thing, is that the people are resistant to change, and the change of moving to an agile system. That's I guess part of the key is, I always say, you start out with the 10 golden rules, and you learn to work in real time, and you start thinking and talking about agile mindset. And what happens is 6 and 8 and 9 months later, you naturally are going, I want to know more about agile. I want to understand more what it could do for me. I want to understand how more we can implement it. And you pretty soon you look back and you go, well, we are agile. We just want to be more agile. And I really think, I today now call it, and I say this is, in my opinion, is a Zen art, because it is about study and it's about practice, right? And at the end of the day, you look at companies, really big companies, who want to be lean and Six Sigma, a lot of those things that you do in lean and Six Sigma, they're really just about refining a process or improving a process. And we do those things in Agile. We do those things in our normal business, right? Well, the funny thing is Agile Service Delivery pulls you closer to a more of a mindset of lean, which is if the client's not willing to pay for it or it's not required in the process, doesn't create value, stop doing it. If you go all the way back to that client you're talking about and say, look, if some of those little things never got done, would you still be able to deliver your product or your service with quality? Should you even be wasting your time doing some of those low-level things? And the answer is no, but that's how they chose to run that business. That's what amazed me.
So here's a question. I have, and I know you have, lived through generations of different ways of management coming down the pipe. Right? Oh, Peter Drucker in the early 90s, and then management by objective, right? And now nobody talks about MBOs. Oh, here's what's your MBO payout and all that. Like nobody does that anymore. And then we went through this whole period where everybody's doing, Alan Weiss and, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to have all of these metrics and we're going to measure everything, right? And so are people still going to be talking about Agile 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now?
I think you're going to be talking more about Agile because I think that Agile very well lends itself to. So part of the things I tie into Agile are some of these other concepts I've cultivated, again, starting at KP Enterprises, the core competency matrix. I said, okay, wait a minute. What are the core competencies we have to be able to service our customers? What are the core competencies we have to even take care of them, run our own company, etc.? And I say those core competencies are what give you a wide, broad range of skill set and a deep level of knowledge within your company. And it has to be rounded out for us to stay relevant and for us to even be competitive. And so it's not about, I need you to do this and I'm going to pay you to learn this. This is your job and these are the roles and things I need you to learn for you to stay relevant to us, for us to stay relevant in the company. And there's no dollar number assigned to it. That's just part of the culture and how we roll, how we stay a healthy, fit, competitive team, right? And it's not about that we're not assigning anything. That's your job. That's what I need out of you this quarter. That's the way I look at it. And I think that is Agile because Agile is continuous incremental improvement, right? And frequent iterations. So at the end of every quarter, if we've done our thing, every tech has gotten one new certification or they've got one new skill set. And we're continually incrementally improving our team and our skill set. But that's just to stay up. That's just to keep up with everybody else. We're not even ahead. If we want to get ahead, then we've got to push. But again, that's just an Agile mindset. It's increments of every business quarter. What are we going to do to kick ass and take money?
Are there personalities that don't fit with that? Or is it just a matter of, hey, this, it is what it is and everybody's got to go do it?
I think that I'm seeing that there's an age range that younger people, anybody younger than me, certainly mostly in their mid-30s and on below, absolutely are willing to accept this. They don't have a question about it. They may have questions about what it is, how it manifests, but the concepts, they're totally no problem. It's only, oddly enough, older folks who go, yeah, but Agile it's so ingrained in them that that's a thing that belongs to software development. What are you doing bringing it over here?
Right.
So I'd say around 40 and up, people are like, what? Why?
But what's funny is they do Agile project management. That's a huge thing now, right?
Yeah.
Not just in software, but in other stuff. And so you would think, at the end of the day, a ticket is a teeny tiny little bitty project, right? Right? Go replace this UPS, right? That's a tiny little project, but it is a project. Yep. And, you would think that Agile would make sense from a project management perspective.
Yeah, I think it's only because of the moniker in folks of a certain age that go, I see that is, like you said, it's either project management or software, but I'm not sure how that would work in software. It'd be like saying, I'm going to have an Agile taco stand. Like we're going to use the Agile method. And well, the funny part is you already do. I worked in restaurants for years when I was young. It's already Agile. Restaurants are already Agile. They're just in time, all of these things. So, Ford, way back in the day when he came up with the concept of the manufacturing processes, they called that flow process today. They call it flow process. And all I'm doing is, all Agile is, all I'm doing is taking that same flow process and applying it to tangible service delivery work. We don't have to be bolting things
I
together.
remember you drawing a little conveyor belt. Like you had the little gears, and here's the conveyor belt, and you put little boxes on it, and like, here's all of our tickets, right? How does a ticket get onto the conveyor belt, and how does it get off the conveyor belt? And what are the things? We sort of mapped out all the inputs and all the outputs, and all the things that could go right, and all the things that could go wrong, and how do we put stuff onto the track where it goes right?
And I didn't even back then didn't realize what I was putting together. But that's what I always say. I always go back to my manufacturing mindset. And I think of, because the ultimate goal was a box of value that we taped up, closed, and gave it to the customer, and they either gave us money for it because it wasn't covered in managed services, or we gave it to them as value for the managed services money they already gave us. And anyway, so I think it's kind of funny, but restaurants have always been agile in the sense that every meal is one little iteration of value given to the customer. You could literally think service delivery is the same thing. Everything you do, whether it's a service call, a service ticket, or a project, is a quantum of value. And, that's, one of the increments that we think of. And there's a lot to it. I think I've gotten very excited putting this course together over the last, I'd say 6 months, because I started winding things up almost 6 months ago. But I started conceiving of it 15 years ago, really made the most headway in the last year. And now I'm at a point, I don't have any choice, but I have to write a book on it because I'd like, if I
a good publisher.
Yeah, well, I know I got one, right? I've already got one. So
where do we go to learn more about Agile Service Delivery and this class?
Well, I had the presence of mind many years ago to register the domain agileservicedelivery.com. So that makes it really easy, right?
Yeah, right here, agileservicedelivery.com. All right, very good. So let me switch gears. So beginning of the year, a lot of people are saying, what can I do to improve my business? What should I do? Kind of taking stock to move forward. And so one thing that happens is maybe they need a little coaching, maybe they need a little assistance. So you have some coaches huddles and you have some other stuff. Tell me about the ways that you engage to help people kind of get started down that road.
Well, the first thing is, so I do this thing called the coaches huddle, and I've been doing it for, coming up on, I think it's almost 5 years now. And I don't do any sales or marketing. And what I always say is I do it to make connections in the community, because I think that there are a lot of small companies, or even medium-sized and larger companies, that don't realize they don't have to go to an event. They don't have to pay somebody to get in a group of people and share ideas and concepts and thoughts about their business, right? To do that mastermind kind of huddle thing. And so I put on the coaches huddle once a month. It's quite often, I like to have it on the second Wednesday. In January, it's actually on the third Wednesday, the 15th. So whoever's seeing this, you could still sign up for it. But if not, there's one the following month and the following month. And so once a month, I get a group of people together, and it's almost never the same group of people. It's first come, first served. They sign up, and then we meet up on a video chat, and everybody introduces themselves, and then we take turns saying, okay, Carl, you're next. Success, failure, pain point, idea, or you could donate your time back to the group until you come up with something. And we go around, and everybody basically not only gets to share some of the things they're trying to figure out for the beginning of the year, or things that are still bothering them from the previous year, or their new idea, but they also, when we get done, I give everyone else's email address. So now you have 6 new contacts from all over the world. I've had people from all over, from South America, from Africa, Australia, you name it, all over the place. And so now you've got 5 new friends that you can reach out to and say, hey, I got that flyer I'm trying to put together. I got it done. Anybody want a copy of it? Or I got a thing I want input on. And I've had some groups who have stayed together for, one group is over 3 years old now.
And you do that totally for free.
I do that for no cost whatsoever, because I just want to make connections, and I want people to know you don't have to go pay to get into on a peer group or a mastermind group to do this. Now, it's fair to say I will be putting together paid mastermind groups where it's the same group of people every month, and I host that. There's an associated cost with that. But these ad hoc, anybody can join. You could sit in on 2 or 3 a year without no cost whatsoever. once a month, every month. And basically, it's just a way of, like I say, showing people anybody could do this. You don't need me to help you. I'll show you how it works. Like you did, you and a gentleman down in Australia did a training course on how to do.
Yeah,
right?
so yeah, I do such things, but I charge for them. So.
Well, but what you did was in person.
Yeah.
And there were 2 coaches, and it was a lot longer than.
Yeah. It was an all-day thing. Yeah.
Right. And I'd have no problem doing that and charging for a similar thing. But at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We're trying to show these people, go find a group of people who are like-minded and just commit to each other, and you will have a very powerful group that doesn't cost you anything.
I have 3 different mastermind groups now that I belong to, where it's people that we get together. One of them is the coaches, you and me and Eric Simpson's others. So we get together once a month and we do our thing. And in that case, we just sort of self-organized, and there's no charges and nobody pays anything and so forth. But,
yeah, we couldn't afford each other. So that's
exactly. Holy crap. It's $8,000 a day.
Your fee is going up next month, Carl.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have that, but you also have some paid coaching programs. Are you still pushing those?
Oh yeah. Well, that's my favorite thing to do. Aside from Agile Service Delivery, I have just this year, and maybe the next time we get together, this is what we'll talk about as the focus. This Getting to the Next Level business strategy portal that I put together has come to fruition after many years, and it's based on the book that I wrote, Getting to the Next Level. And what it is, it's a project portal that allows you to cultivate and manage your business strategy and execute on, again, using an agile methodology. Well, we brought that to largely to fruition in 2018, which means 2019, basically, I get to spend a lot more of my time coaching. And so I'm looking basically to expand that and add a few people to the roster who are willing to get to the next level. And so, that's probably going to be one of the big pushes is taking on new clients in 2019 and helping them get to the next level. And yeah, I have a paid program. It's really straightforward. If you go to my homepage, it's tells you how it works. You can get a free strategy session with me.
And that's ManuelPalachuk.com.
ManuelPalachuk.com. I again had the presence of mind to register that domain.
GettingToTheNextLevel.com.
No. I own GTTNL.com, the short version. I do not own GettingToTheNextLevel.com, but
well, then I'll erase that. I'll like put a black thing over here, like.
Right.
So, all right.
But if they go there, they'll get another elderly gentleman and his wife who do coaching. It might even be good stuff. I have no idea, but it's not Getting to the Next Level.
Exactly. It's not the real Getting to the Next.
Well, actually, they changed the name. You go to that site and it changes to something Success Coaching.
Well,
so I'm camped out on the domain waiting for it to expire or for them to expire, one of the other.
When they retire, then you might suddenly. So very cool. Sorry, we have like 2 minutes left, but in terms of the coaching and so forth, is this once a day, once a week, once a month? Like, how do people engage in that?
So really, I have different levels of engagement, anywhere from a single session a week to or single session a month to 4 sessions or 5 sessions a month. If it's 5 sessions a month, it's basically week 1, 2, 3, 4. Hours on the same day. And then the 5th session is we talk just about a very high level of the finances of the company, basically a focus on finance, I call it. And typically, most companies, beyond that, it would be a consulting engagement if you wanted a more frequent,
right. And are these primarily small companies or, 20 employees, 50 employees, 1,000 employees?
I don't have any 1,000 employee companies, but I don't think that there's really any limit. It's really a matter of the maturity of the organization. And so it wouldn't matter if you were a $10 million company and 50 or 75 or 100 people. I have clients up to 75 employees. And, as they get more mature, the strategy gets more mature, and that's where that business strategy collaboration portal comes in. So smaller companies don't typically use it, but and I'll take any client of any size. One-person operations, I know there's a lot of stuff I can do to help them.
Very cool. All righty. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we'll send folks, I guess the best place to start for everything is ManuelPalachuk.com.
That's the best place to start, yeah. And
Very cool.
thanks for having me on for the first podcast of the year, right? How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool. Well, I appreciate it, and we will have you back again and again. So,
Okay, great.
All right, thank you, and I will see you in March at Channel Pro, if not before.
If not before, if you don't come down to Florida in February.
That's right. Very good. Thank you. Well, this has been another SMB Community Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.